Think about the last argument that really got under your skin. Not a small disagreement. The kind that left you tense hours later, replaying it, feeling that hot flash of frustration every time it came back. Now ask yourself a strange question. What actually made you so angry? You will probably say it was because they were wrong. And that feels obvious. But it isn't the whole story. Because you disagree with people all the time, every single day, without it bothering you at all. Someone likes a food you hate. Someone prefers a different team, a different city, a different way of doing things. You shrug. It rolls off you. So why do some disagreements slide right past, while others make your blood boil? A study published in 2026 found the answer, and it is sharper and stranger than you think. It is not disagreement that upsets you. It is something much more specific. And once you see it, you will understand your own anger in every heated argument you have ever had in a completely different way. For a long time, scientists explain division with a simple idea. People like being around others who think like them, and dislike being around those who don't. It is called belief homophily, and it was the go-to explanation for everything from why families split over politics to why your social media feed becomes an echo chamber of people who already agree with you. The story was clean and intuitive. Difference itself is what pushes us apart. But two researchers, Andras Molnar and George Loewenstein, suspected that story was missing something. So they ran 4 careful studies with over 2,000 people, and they pulled apart 2 things we usually feel as one. The first was simple difference. This person believes something other than what I believe. The second was falseness. This person believes something that is wrong. And here is what they found. When people encountered someone who simply believed something different, they were often fine with it. Not threatened, not angry, sometimes even curious. But when they became convinced the other person was flat out wrong, holding a false belief, that is when the negative feelings surged. The stronger their certainty that the other person was mistaken, the stronger their hostility. Sit with how different that is. It means the thing driving your anger was never the disagreement itself. It was your certainty that you were right and they were wrong. And the researchers proved this in a way that is almost uncomfortable to hear. In one experiment, they took the exact same disagreement and simply described it 2 different ways. To some people, they framed it as the other person having a different opinion. To others, they framed that identical position as the other person being incorrect. Nothing about the actual disagreement changed, only the label. And that alone, just calling it wrong instead of different, raised the emotional temperature. Same clash, more heat, purely because one framing whispered, they are not just unlike you, they are mistaken. So the real question becomes, why? Why does the feeling that someone is wrong hit so much harder than the feeling that they are simply different? The researchers point to something deep in how your mind works. You do not build your sense of what is real all by yourself. You build it with other people. When those around you see the world the way you do, it quietly confirms that your grip on reality is solid, that you're seeing things correctly. This shared sense of reality is one of the most stabilizing forces in human life. It is the ground you stand on. And that is exactly why a false belief feels like a threat. When someone is certain of something you know to be untrue, they're not just disagreeing with you. They're standing in the same world as you and describing it completely differently. And some part of you registers that as danger, because if they can look at reality and get it so wrong, it shakes the ground a little. It undermines that comforting sense that we all live in the same, knowable world. Their wrongness feels like a crack in the floor. This is also why it gets so much worse when the stakes are real. The study found that being wrong about something trivial causes only mild frustration. But when a false belief has consequences, when it could cause harm, or shape a law, or affect the people you love, the hostility climbs sharply. It is not the abstract wrongness that enrages you. It is a wrongness that threatens to reach out and touch the real world you share. So think back to that argument that got under your skin. You told yourself you were angry because they were wrong. And in a sense, you were exactly right, but not for the reason you thought. It was never really about the topic. It was about the quiet, primal fear that someone standing right next to you is seeing a different reality, and that if they were that certain and that mistaken, then maybe the solid ground you both stood on was not so solid after all. That does not mean you should stop caring about what is true. Some beliefs are false, and some of those false beliefs really do cause harm, and it is right to push back on those. But there is a quiet power in understanding what is actually happening inside you in the heat of the moment. The next time you feel that hot surge of frustration rising, you can pause and notice it for what it is. Not proof that the other person is a villain, just your ancient, deeply human alarm system, sounding off because someone threatened your shared sense of reality. And once you can see the alarm for what it is, you get to decide for the first time whether it is really worth going to war over, or whether you can simply let them be wrong and let the ground beneath you stay exactly as solid as it always was.